Shalom, giving all praise to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. And I just wanted to speak on the end of the world, which is a term a lot of people have been using, over the last 5 to 10 years. You've been hearing a lot about we're at the end of the world, and a lot of people have that misconstrued, especially the Edomites. Anytime they speak of the end of the world, it ends in some big, war or some asteroid hitting the earth and humanity is wiped out, or some big pandemic happens and pretty much, nothing else, happens, and or some aliens take over or some bugged out, madness. Now they do know that a world's war 3 is coming, which that's prophesied in the scriptures. But what Esau and what these people fail to realize is that the Bible is not dealing with the end of the entire planet Earth. The entire planet Earth will not be destroyed in its entirety. There's no asteroid that's going to come and wipe the planet Earth out. And the way Esau speaks about the end of the world is that if he's not ruling, then there won't be any other rulership. They even have talks of going and, inhabiting Mars and all of this other bugged out talk. But, as this article says, scientists think we're closer to the end of the world than ever. Now, as you read the article, nowhere are they talking about the next kingdom that will rule this earth. Nowhere are they talking about what's next. Pretty much is just the doom, the gloom, the destruction of the earth and nothingness. And if there is something, it's some bugged out philosophy that has nothing to do with the reality. Reality is that world that's getting ready to be destroyed is the world and rulership and age of Esau Edom, okay, which is the top heathen at this point. Now, when you read the scriptures, the Lord gave the heathen their particular rulerships, okay, and you can read that in Daniel the 7th chapter and various prophecies that go into how the heathen would have dominion over various ages. They would have their time to rule, okay. And when you read the Bible, the last rulership of the heathen would be Babylon the Great. Now, if you go into biblical prophecy and you're privy to the secrets, you'll see that that kingdom is associated with the biblical Edomites, okay? The Bible does not speak of the end of the world as to where the earth will no longer exist, humans will no longer be here. No, that's not what the Bible is talking about. The Bible was speaking of the transfer of rulerships. You see, as a matter of fact, we could start here at Ecclesiastes 1 and 4, which is clear as day. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 4. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. You see that? But the earth abideth forever. So the earth is never going to be destroyed in its fullness, man. Okay, this is where paradise is going to be set up at. This is where the kingdom of heaven is going to be set up at. It's just that due to prophecy, the Lord gave these heathen their particular reigns, man. And it has led to the earth being brought to the worst condition that it's ever been, especially under the Edomites. Okay, the so-called white man who was promised by Isaac that he would rule the earth with the sword and have the fatness of the earth, meaning the control of the resources, the control of the oil, and so much more. And we're seeing that being played out through this beast system, all right, headed by Babylon the Great, which is America. This is Luke 21 and 24. And this is speaking of what happened in 70 AD. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. From that point, we were chased out of Jerusalem, okay, which is where our temple was, and, pretty much where the government of Israel, under David, the throne of David was set up, but after Solomon, we hadn't, had any kingdom. We hadn't had any true government. We hadn't had any sovereignty. At the time the Messiah was on the scene, Judea was a province of the Roman Empire, a vassal to the Roman Empire. We were under the control of the Romans. However, we were there, and our people were doing a whole bunch of selling out. So what happened is, leading up to about 70 AD, starting really about 4 years before that, 66, 63 to 66 AD, we started to be chased out of Jerusalem. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. It was martial law declared on the Israelites, and shall be led captive into all nations, because from this point we were chased out of Jerusalem. And what happened? In Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, and to the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we're right at that point where the time of the Gentiles will be fulfilled. Let's get a quick precept real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 63 and 17. O Yahweh, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, and harden our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servants' sakes the tribes of thine inheritance, the 12 tribes of Israel. The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. We had 40 years of peace, and after that we hadn't had any kingdom, man. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. You see that? Thine adversaries, our adversaries, have trodden down thy sanctuary, all of the heathen nations, man. You see that? We are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name. So the heathen, let's get one more, have had dominion over the Holy Land in these various different places, man, which the whole earth belongs to Israel when you read prophecy. This is Ezekiel 36 and 2. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, the enemy have said against you, aha. See that? Even the ancient high places are ours in possession. And how did they get the ancient high places? Well, prophecy. The Lord gave each of these heathen their rulership, their lot, their inheritance, their blessing. So you can't say that the Lord is unfair. It just so happens that now that we're saying that we're going to have our kingdom, everybody got a problem with it. So Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles, because we would be kicked out and eventually scattered and sold off into slavery until the time of the Gentiles will be fulfilled. And how will we know that we were at the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled? And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon. We see that. You have a pink moon. I was just watching the brother Mataloya from GMS Kansas City, the head of that camp, and he was talking about how a pink moon is coming. And these things are all signs and wonders. We've had various wolf moons, various signs in the heavens, the chariots, okay, eclipses, blood moons. These things are for signs that we're at the end. Okay, signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of the nations with perplexity, mass confusion, the sea and the waves roaring. All right, tsunamis, floods, all sorts of things are happening on this earth, and the nations are distressed because of the rulership of the earth, man. It's not set up for things to flourish in righteousness. It says men's heart failing for them, and looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And the powers of heaven are the biblical Edomites at this point. They are the ones who ruling, all right, this current world, this current system, this current age is being ruled by the Edomites. All right. So going back to the point, it says one generation passeth away and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. Now let's get Daniel, the 4th chapter, and we'll read the 17th verse. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. You see that? He gives the kingdom to whosoever he will, and if he wanted to, he can give it to the basis of men, which he's done, because it was promised that Esau, let's get that, and Job tells you that they were children of fools, base men. Now, all right, I am their song. They are ruling the earth. Let's get Daniel, the 7th chapter, real quick, and then we'll move on. When you read Daniel, the 7th chapter, if you believe in the Bible, he gives you the outline of the four major rulerships that will rule on the earth. Okay, four major beasts, which some of them were joint rulerships, but he gives you the outline of the kingdoms that will rule the earth. When you read Daniel 7 and 3, it says, and four beasts came upon the sea, diverse one from another, and the beast represents people. You see that? They came upon the sea, meaning the Lord gave them the kingdom, and they were diverse from one to another. It says the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Okay, and that was the Assyrian Babylonian Empire. See that? It was like a lion. Even when you go into that rulership, they had a god, which I forget the name of it, it was a lion with eagle's wings. Okay, and then you go to the second, it says a bear, and it raised itself on one side because the Medes ruled first, and then you had the Persians that ruled. Okay, and we'll go into an in-depth Daniel the 7th chapter breakdown, but just for the sake of time and getting through this lesson, I'm just going to keep going. And then it says, and I beheld, lo, one like a leopard. You see that? One like a leopard. And this is representative of the Greeks, the Greek Empire, which is synonymous with the same thing you see here in Revelation the 13th chapter, because Revelation 13 and 2, and the beast which I saw is like unto a leopard, because the leopard, the Greeks, start with Alexander, were the beginning of this beast system that we are living under today. You see that? So you had the Greeks rule. It said, and lo, another like a leopard, which had on the back of it four wings, and we know that's Alexander's four generals: Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and the Seleucid. Okay, and out of the Seleucid eventually came Antiochus, in which put holy hell on the Israelites. Okay, after that, with that rulership, the temple was sacked. Okay, and then it goes into the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire. Okay, the Roman Empire. Now, we know that the Roman Empire ruled for a period, but then they fell. Okay, and for 1,000 years, the Edomites were pretty much null and void. But as you read prophecy, that deadly wound was healed. You see, that deadly wound was healed, and they have been since that point, the Renaissance period, ruling the earth in utter wickedness, bringing back the image of the beast, which is the fourth beast that we're reading about. Now, the beauty of it is, as you read the 7th verse, I'll read it. It says, and after this, in the night visions, behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, meaning they're military, and devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, because of the Senate and how they put their rulers in rulership. The previous beast brought in their rulers differently, but the king would pass it down to his son. But this, they had a Senate and so forth, which you see that same system in place here today. All right, because the image of the beast is living through Babylon the Great. Now, as you keep reading, and it said that it had 10 horns, and that's the vassal states. It says, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Now, when you read about this little horn, this is the revived Roman Empire, in which is Babylon the Great, in which they got the fatness of the earth, which was prophesied and promised that the Edomites would get. Let's get this real quick. Genesis 27, and I'll get to the point. In 39, and Isaac his father answered him and said, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Now remember, Jacob was promised the fatness of the earth, because the Israelites are going to rule the earth in its entirety, but it's going to be in righteousness. But Esau would have the fatness of the earth, the control of the resources, the oil, and the dew of heaven from above. He would be in his heaven. And we see that right now. What other nation has ruled the earth in its entirety? That's happening right now. Okay, it says, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And that happened under David. That happened in the Renaissance, before the Renaissance period, the Byzantine Empire. But he broke the yoke and got dominion. All right. Now, Esau would have the fatness of the earth, and that would be through this fourth beast and this little horn, which is a part of the fourth beast. It's still that same fourth beast, but it's a little horn. Now, as you read, the end of these rulerships end right here. When you read Daniel the 7th chapter and the 8th verse, these rulerships end right here. And this is not speaking of the end of the world. The end of the age is what it's speaking of. Okay, because the Messiah, as you read, the Most High sends the Messiah to come and destroy these places, man. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's see, verse 11, and I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, America, Babylon, a great trump, the pseudoscience, the lies, the witchcraft. And I beheld even until the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given into the burning flame. Verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beast, all of the heathen nations outside of Esau, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time, because they're going to be able to at least live and witness the kingdom of heaven. Esau, Edom will be utterly done away with. Now, verse 13 is the point. And I saw in the night visions one behold, like the Son of Man, came with the clouds of heaven, and came into the Ancient of Days and brought him near before him, showing you that they're two separate powers. Okay. Now the Most High brought forth his only begotten Son. He is of him, but they're two separate powers. It says, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. So this ain't speaking of the end of a world. What the Bible is speaking of is a new rulership to come. After Armageddon and the destruction of Babylon the Great, the Israelites will be delivered, and we'll go up to the chariot, get changed, get crowned. But eventually we're going to come down and set up paradise on the planet Earth and enslave the heathen nations, man. All right. That all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, and we're joint heirs with him, Lord willing, we're those men which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that shall not be destroyed. Okay. So let's get this. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 10. Okay, and I'll just get to the point. Verse 3, an unwise king destroyed this people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And that one that is profitable is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the Son of Man that we just read about in Daniel the 7th chapter. You see that? So in due time, he's going to set over it one that's profitable. And who's going to rule with him? The 144,000. Okay. In the hand of God is the prosperity of men, and upon the person of the scribe shall he lay his honor. Now, as you read down, there's another point. Verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. And who was injured, man? He injured the Israelites. All of the nations, as you read Revelation 13 chapter, it tells you he had power to smite all of the nations, but the main nation that he would take down, which would lead to him getting the, fatness of the earth, would be the Israelites, man. Okay? Because once we're down, then, the heathen can flourish and their madness can flourish. Now, this is Genesis 3 and 15. The Lord speaking to the serpent, which that energy today is in Esau, Edom. Okay? And I will put enmity between thee and the woman. The woman represents Israel. And between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, meaning we would bruise their head, meaning totally crush their rulership. And thou shalt bruise his heel. Okay. He would bruise our heel, meaning he would injure us. All right. An ankle injury, an Achilles injury is hard to come back from, but we're back. Okay. He injured the Israelites, man, as well as all of the heathen nations, man. Luke 4 and 18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, to recover the sight of the blind, and to set at liberty them that are bruised, man. Okay, bruised is an injury, man. We were injured through this rulership. He wore out the saints, man. Okay.
Strong's G 2352. Thrao.
To break in pieces, to shatter, smite through. And he did that. Okay. And he didn't do that because he's so high and mighty. He did that because of prophecy. Okay, Revelation 13. Let's see here. In 7. And there was given unto him to make war with the saints. Okay, he bruised our heel, man. Okay, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, man. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So the kingdom is going to be translated from one people to another, man. Okay? And how is that going to happen? How is the kingdom of heaven going to be set up? Well, when you get the book of Obadiah, okay? The book of Obadiah, the very last verse tells you, and Savior shall come up on the Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord. So these Edomites speaking about doomsday, they know that they're at the end, but they're doing it with, well, they're speaking about it with deception, because the way Esau talks about the end is some bugged out, you know, and you see it in this movie, some weirdo madness, man. Okay, the aliens come or asteroid comes or something, and nobody else rules. Well, that's in his feeble mind. Okay, the next rulership after you Edomites fall, yeah, you are close to doomsday. Yeah, we are closer to the end of the world, but whose world are we close to the end of? Okay, Esau's world. You see, that's what's coming up on the earth right now, man. The end of all heathen rulership. But the heathen who's going to be in rulership at the when the Messiah returns, according to prophecy, that fourth beast will be the Edomites. And it tells you right here, once the mount of Esau is judged, the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So Esau has to still be here, or he's done away with, and this is the kingdom. Okay? I'm going to go with A. He's still here. Okay? This is 2nd Esdras 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Esau is the end of the world, because when you read verse 7, Esdras is asking, and then I answered and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, and when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Jacob's kingdom, right? The kingdom of heaven. So he goes and the angel tells him, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau, which was symbolic. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. And you can clearly see that the Israelites are on the rise, and this kingdom is done. It's a gloomy, eerie feel. It's wicked. All these disasters and sicknesses being spread. We're at the end of Esau's world, and he's trying to do what he can to secure his lot and destroy the blessing of the Israelites through his carnal blessing and wickedness, man. Okay? Now, as you go down, let's see here. Verse 24, more signs to look for before this devil's kingdom will be taken down, is that at that time shall friends fight against one against another like enemies. And we see that as we read real quick. Let's get that. Revelation 6. Revelation, the 6th chapter, the 9th. Let's see here. In the 5th verse, in the 4th verse, Salakia, and there went out another horse that was red, okay, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. The earth would be in peril. The earth would be in a very, very destructive, vibration. The people would be of a destructive vibration. And why is that? Because as we were reading, Sirach 10 and 2, I start at 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. This government isn't well ordered. Look at the government. Look at the people who represent Babylon the Great in this beast system. They're a bunch of vile beasts, man. Trump. You see that? As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. A bunch of violent, crooked people who you look to for help. The police, the doctors, the military. It's all wicked, man. The physicians, the teachers, they're all teaching you left hand witchcraft, man. So are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of a city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyed his people. 5G towers, vaccines, diseases, lies. But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And that's going to be through Yahushua and the elect. Okay, so Esau's rulership has led to everybody killing one another, man. Okay, our kingdom is not going to be filled with war. The scriptures say once the kingdom of heaven is set up, there will be no war, man. And the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. And that's happening right now. You can see that everybody's standing in fear, not knowing what's next. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Okay? Whosoever remaineth from all those things I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation in the end of your world. The end of whose world? The end of Esau's world, as we read earlier, man. Okay? The end of Esau's world, man. And this thing is about to get dark, man. Okay? And the truth, as it says, the springs of the fountain shall stand still, the Lord is gonna cut off the word of the prophets, and none of you people are gonna have understanding of why these things are happening, because you've lived your life in excess wickedness, man. So the end of your world. It's not the end of the world, it's the end of your world. It's the transfer of rulership, as the scriptures prescribe. Okay? Second Esdras chapter 11 and 39. Are not thou that remainest of the four beasts? Didn't we just read about the four beasts in Daniel the 7th chapter? Whom I have made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them. So the Lord is speaking unto you, Edomites. You see that? You are that remainest of the fourth beast, whom I have made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them. So the end of the heathen rulership is going to come through this fourth beast, as we just read in Daniel the 7th chapter. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. The whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, man. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. Now, we know that the fourth beast is the Roman Empire, but let's look at the Roman Empire territory. Okay, the Roman Empire territory was not the whole compass of the earth. Okay, you can see it goes from here, and that's a lot of landmass, but that's not the whole world. What we're reading about here, okay, and hold up, oh, Salakia. What we're reading about here is a rulership that had a ruler and power over the whole compass of the earth, north, south, east, west. His policy rules. Okay, and as we read in Daniel the 7th chapter, amongst that fourth beast, okay, which we'll get into that soon, Lord willing, amongst that fourth beast, let's see here, there was another little horn. You see that? There was another little horn. That little horn is Babylon the Great. And through Babylon the Great and those 10 horns and you know, the vassal states and the NATO and the EU, basically, they have control over the whole compass of the earth, man. Okay, it is the end of their world. Okay, so let's read this again. Second Esdras 11 and 40. And the fourth came, okay, which is ruled by the Edomites, and overcame all the beasts that were past. Because remember, Obadiah told you that the kingdom will be the Lord's after Esau fell. So he has to, by default, control this fourth beast. Esau is the end of the world. Okay? The end of their times will come through the end of Esau, the fourth beast. There's no such thing as the end of the world. The earth abided forever. Okay? and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth. He's lied about every goddamn thing, man. Thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, man. You've destroyed the dwellings of them, starting with the Israelites, but of all of these different nations where the Lord placed them, you wouldn't destroy them, remove the landmarks, destroy their culture, rape, rob, murder, using pseudoscience at the forefront of your reasoning of why you can do these things. We remember what the British did. And British birthed this whore Babylon the Great. And that history is all in Daniel the 7th chapter, man. Okay? And has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm, man. But then he's looking for terrorists. His whole MO is using his platform to say he's on the defense. Babylon the Great has been at war 95+% of the whole time it's been in rulership, man. Of the 240 or 50 plus years it's been in rulership, 90% of those years have been filled with war, man. And for the majority of those wars, they were on the offense. And then when they weren't at war, they were using, chemical, biological, and all sorts of warfare on all of these nations, especially you Israelites, man. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up to the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. You see that? Their sins have reached up to heaven, as it says in Revelation 18, Babylon the Great. The highest has also looked upon thy proud times, and behold, they are ended. You see that? And his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou eagle. Now what is Esau likened unto? Though you exalt thyself as the eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. All of your rulers and going back to the Caesars, leading up to all of these presidents and governors and rulers and bankers, they're all going to be destroyed, man, because they've done harm not only to the Israelites, but to the earth, man, and Lord's creation, period. Now they're trying to put a chip in people, man. And see, the only way the earth is going to be refreshed is what? That these rulers be taken down. So the rulership, the eagle and his wings and his feathers and his heads is speaking of his rulers, his vain body, his rulership, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. And how is the earth going to receive judgment and mercy? Through the Israelites ruling with the law, statutes, and commandments. The law, statutes, and commandments were made for the earth to flourish, for humans to flourish. Okay, but it had to be set up under a right rulership. All right, and that's what Adam represented, but Yahushua is coming to fix. Okay, and Solomon represented that, but Yahushua is coming to fix what was messed up as Adam and Solomon. And under him is going to be that government, the 144,000, man. So the earth is going to be refreshed and set up a righteous ruler over it once this fourth beast is destroyed. Okay, that little horn that came up of it, which is Babylon the Great. And the earth is going to be delivered from his violence, man. So the Bible doesn't talk about the end of the world. There's no such thing as the end of the world. Okay, the earth abided forever, man. Okay, the earth was made to flourish forever, but it's on the brink of destruction because of the rulership and how it's being ran. This is Daniel 2:40, and we'll end it off here. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and iron that breaketh all these shall break in pieces and bruise, meaning through that fourth beast, Rome will conquer the nations, man. But eventually, after the deadly wound will be healed, what would they do? They will have their little season to do wickedness, which would lead to Armageddon. And that's spoken of. Let's get that. Revelation, the 20th chapter. Revelation 20:7. Okay. Revelation 20:7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, that's the Byzantine Empire, where the Edomites were, cavemen, and the Lord put them low where they belong, man. After the 1,000 years were expired, which the Byzantine Empire was around 1,000 to 1,100 years, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, And we know that there is a seed of Satan, he who cometh to do the bidding and work of Satan, 2 Thessalonians 2. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, which we just described that in 2 Esdras 11. Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. You see that? So what this wickedness that they've done is leading to Gog and Magog leading a campaign and destroying their asses, man, along with all of these other different nations who are aligned with them, which is what you read about. Okay? Daniel 2:41. Whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, the part of the potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided. And we see that happening. The kingdom is divided. But there shall be in it the strength of iron, because they still have military might, but economically, financially, okay, morally, they don't agree on things. So the Lord has them split, okay, and as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay, the NATO and the EU are fed up with Babylon the Great. Okay, you have various other nations fed up with Babylon the Great, but Esau's system is split. Okay, and a kingdom divided cannot stand, man. Okay, and we see this happening in the news. We see it happening before our eyes, man. Okay, this is that last kingdom. Yes, doomsday is near to this kingdom in the end of this world, but the beginning of the world of Israel, man, under Yahushua. Okay? And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, meaning they will get amongst these different nations and set up, marriages to, rule and trade deals and that deal. But all of these deals are being broken. But they shall not cleave one to another, meaning they're not going to agree. Okay? Even the British and the America are in cahoots. Okay? You just had the Brexit. There's various things happening that are aligned with biblical prophecy, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And here's the point. In the day of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. See that? It shall stand forever. So the world, okay, how will the pandemic end? The world ain't gonna end through the whole world ain't gonna ever end, man. What's gonna happen is the Lord is gonna transfer the kingdom and rulership unto the Israelites, man, as he's promised in his word. Hopefully I will edify. Shalom.